This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast.
The Hidden Killers Podcast.
With Tony Bruschi.
This is a case that we have talked about a little bit here and there. It really seems fairly open and shut. It could have been much deeper, but just one that really speaks to just stupidity, not raising children correctly or at all, and allowing them to run free and just make absolutely horrible decisions that will completely ruin their lives and the lives of others. It's the story of the two teens, a 12-year-old arrested for allegedly fatally shooting three teenagers in Florida. There's a 16-year-old that was taken into custody after two other juveniles were arrested for fatally shooting three teenagers. It all began on March 30th, about 10:52 in the evening, with a call about a female gunshot victim at Forest Lakes Park. 16-year-old Layla Daniel Silvernail was transported to the hospital in critical condition and later died from her injuries. The next morning, deputies were called to Southeast 94th Street, Southeast 188th Court, found another deceased victim in the road. And then on April 1st, deputies discovered a partially submerged vehicle with another deceased juvenile female at a lake at the Malkua Loop Terrace. Two other victims have not been actually identified as of yet. The parents citing, I forget what the name of the law is, but it allows those victims' names to not have to be released to the public. The car belonged to Silvernail, according to Sheriff Billy Woods. The three suspects identified as 17-year-old Robert Robinson, 12-year-old Christopher Atkins, and 16-year-old Taj Bruton. These are kids that did this, 17-year-old, 12-year-old, and a 16-year-old. Atkins and Robinson were arrested on first-degree murder charges. Bruton remained at large until April 8th. Bruton is apprehended in Groveland, Florida by U.S. Marshals, arrested on multiple charges, including carjacking and aggravated assault. There's more charges expected there. The sheriff said that the suspects, this is how they've basically been explaining it the whole time, they were associated with a gang in some way, shape, or form and turned on the victims, resulting in their murders. This was of a town of, 1,500 people?
Yeah, it's a little bitty town.
And these idiot kids that have access to weapons and obviously no parents whatsoever that are out there running around doing these things. Or if they do have parents, you'd be hard-pressed to find them making any sort of influence on your children if they're out murdering other teens. I don't know what to do with something like this. I mean, it's absolutely horrible. You see these kids, they're going to be behind bars, hopefully the rest of their lives, or the system will go, oh, you're juveniles and you can get out in 25 years, and they go kill more people. Yeah, I mean, these are extremely broken human beings that are utterly defective. And yeah, I mean, what purpose do we have now with this?
And I think like the 12-year-old, I read that he there was a disturbance at school somehow that led him to that kid. And I don't know if he fessed up or what happened. But 12 years old, what is he even doing hanging around with a 16 and 17-year-old? Because
it looks like a gang, and it's, probably the only people who accepted him. I mean, we can go deep into the psychology of all this, where lack of parenting, lack of direction, lack of any of that will lead kids into a gang life, because that's what's going to give you some sort of stability in its own way, shape, and form. And acceptance, and unfortunately it ends up leading to horrible shit like this. So yeah, I mean, what is the answer? I don't have the answer, but it's just another story of absolute senseless violence that didn't need to happen. And yeah, I'd be questioning the parents of all these kids if they're around, and how did all this happen? I think if you took a little look at them, I think you could probably connect the dots pretty quickly and go, oh, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised your children turned out this way.
Well, when this case first came out and we heard about it, I was very skeptical, because I thought, this is a town of 1,700 people or something like that. How do they immediately go to wannabe gang members? And they kept saying wannabe gang members. Apparently, there was evidence that, these weren't good criminals because I think they left plenty of evidence behind. And I think the cops knew who they were looking for right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And they said robbery is the motive. I don't even get how these 6 people all ended up together. Said they were together, and then the 3 turned on the other 3. So I don't know what that is. I'm assuming we'll know more eventually. But it's just also tragic. And it's so, these poor families that have to live without their loved ones. And, these other kids who are going to be locked up forever. It's a triple murder. You're going to be locked up for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what they'll do with this 12-year-old. I mean, they could try him as an adult. That's happened before. I know in my state, they've tried kids that young as an adult. I don't know what they do. It's just horrific.
Yeah. No, they should be tried as adults. They should be getting the punishment to the fullest extent of the law. We see so many murders that we look at and go, wow, like this was really planned out, and nothing makes it better or anything. But this just, they snapped. They were making horrible choices, and it says they turned on them. So these idiots thought that the correct course of action was to murder the girls and the other friend.
I can't wrap my brain around that. Like,
no.
What did they have that they wanted so bad that they thought they needed to murder them for it?
Love to know that, but I don't think there's an answer. And that's the sad part.
Maybe in time we'll have that.
There is no answer. There is no answer. That's the thing.
That would even make sense. Even if you did know the answer to that question, it ain't going to make sense.
There is no answer. It's just senseless violence. That's what senseless violence is. And the only way to stop it is to get at the root of the psychology behind these people, get help for people who are in these sort of situations, and not just let them roam the streets until shit goes wrong. But that's the world we live in. We have nothing to stop any of this.
With the town being so small, these 3 had to have been on their radar, the cops' radar.
I'm sure. But again, there's not a lot you can do to stop offenders like this until it goes to such an extreme that they get locked up for long, long periods of time.
And I wonder if they actually were carjacked. Maybe, they didn't really even hang out together.
No, it appears they were all associated in some way, shape, or form. So,
so sad.
Just another where you break out the Brooks and Dunn. Only in America.
This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast.
The Hidden Killers Podcast.
With Tony Bruschi.
Going to weigh in on any of the cases that we are following for you. You can. 888-5-KILLER, 888-554-5537. We'd love to hear from you. My name's Tony Bruschi. You can follow me on Twitter at TonyBPod. Stay with us.